Good afternoon everyone. The 2022 Philippine presidential and vice presidential elections are scheduled to be held on Monday, May 9, 2022. As part of that year's general election, this will be the 17th direct presidential election and 16th vice presidential election in the Philippines since 1935. And the 7th sextennial presidential and vice presidential election since 1986. Incumbent President Rodrigo Duterte is ineligible for re-election as he is limited to a single term, under the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The position of president and vice president are elected separately. The two winning candidates could thus come from different political parties. The 7 frontrunners are trade unionist Leo D. de Guzman, Senator Bongo, Senator Panfilo Lacson, former Senator Bongbong Marcos, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Senator Manny Pacquiao, and Vice President Leni Robredo. According to the Constitution of the Philippines of 1987, the election is held every 6 years after 1992. On the second Monday of May, the incumbent president is term limited. The incumbent vice president may run for 2 consecutive terms. The first past the post voting system is used to determine the winner, the candidate with the highest number of votes, whether or not one has a majority, wins the presidency. The vice presidential election is a separate election, is held on the same rules, and voters may split their ticket. If 2 or more candidates get the most votes for either position, Congress shall vote from among them which shall be president or vice president, as the case may be. Both winners will serve 6-year terms commencing at noon on June 30, 2022, and ending on the same day, 6 years later. See also, 2016 Philippine presidential election and 2019 Philippine Senate election. In the 2016 presidential and vice presidential elections, Davao City Mayor Rodrigo Duterte of Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakasang Bayan, Transl. Philippine Democratic Party People Power, PDP Laban, won the presidency against 4 other candidates, while House Representative from Camarines Sur Leni Robredo of the Liberal Party won against Senator Bongbong Marcos and 4 others in the vice presidential election that is the closest margin since 1965. Marcos put the result under protest in the Presidential Electoral Tribunal. 3. On Marcos's electoral protest against Robredo, the Presidential Electoral Tribunal released in October 2019 the report on Marcos's pilot provinces of Camarines Sur, Iloilo and Negros Oriental, and showed that Robredo increased her lead by 15,742 votes. The tribunal voted to defer on deciding on the protest and instead proceeded with Marcos's plea to nullify the votes from the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, ARMM, provinces of Basilan, Lanao del Sur and Maguindanao. Those who dissented to the decision said that the protest should have been dismissed, as Marcos failed to recover votes from his 3 pilot provinces. Citing the rules of the tribunal, they were overruled when the others said that Marcos's plea on the ARMM provinces should also be resolved. In July 2016, Vice President Robredo was appointed to head the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, HUDC, but later resigned in December 2016 after she was told to stop attending all cabinet meetings, amid her criticism of the administration's war on drugs. The president later told his allies to stop trying to impeach Robredo. In the 17th Congress, the representative from Davao del Norte, Pantaleon Alvarez, was elected Speaker of the House of Representatives in July 2016. 8. Midway during the 17th Congress, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who was the representative from Pampanga, ousted Alvarez from the speakership. The ouster was reportedly due to a squabble between Alvarez and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, the president's daughter, when the latter branded the former as being from the opposition when she launched the Hugpong ang Pagbabago, Transl. Faction of Change, HNP, a regional political party in the Davao region where both Davao del Norte and Davao City are a part of. In the 2019 midterm Senate election, the opposition fielded the Otso Diretso, Transl. Straight 8, coalition, while the administration fielded their slate under the Hugpong ang Pagbabago banner. Hugpong won 9 of the 12 seats contested, while Otso Diretso won no seats. Cynthia Villar, wife of defeated 2010 presidential candidate Manuel Villar, topped the election, while 2013 Senate election top-notcher and 2016 defeated presidential candidate Grace Poe finished second. While Sara Duterte's Hugpong won in the Davao region, they notably failed to unseat Alvarez, and PDP Laban defeated Hugpong's candidate for governor of Davao del Norte, and won the province's both seats in the House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, administration-allied parties won, but there was a dispute on who should be Speaker. President Duterte negotiated a term-sharing agreement with Alan Peter Cayetano and Lord Alan Velasco, with the former serving the first 15 months of the term, while Velasco will serve out the final 18 months. Meanwhile, Tito Sotto was re-elected as Senate President. On November 2019, the President challenged Robredo to co-chair the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, ICAD, the office that oversees the war on drugs, along with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency chief, which she accepted. A week later, Duterte said that he will fire Robredo if she shares state secrets about the drug war. Several days later, Duterte said he cannot trust Robredo after she asked the government for a list of high-value targets in the drug war. Robredo replied that he should tell me straight if he wants me out. A day later, Duterte fired Robredo as co-chair of the ICAD. During the COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines, the government was criticized on its handling of the health crisis. Robredo had a televised speech in August claiming that the government had no plans on how to resolve the pandemic. She then shared 10 recommendations on how to resolve it. Duterte himself, in a separate speech days later, asked Robredo not to add fuel to the fire. In June 2020, American boxing promoter Bob Arum said that Senator Manny Pacquiao confided to him that he will run for president in 2022. Pacquiao later denied talking about politics with Arum. On December 3, 2020, Pacquiao was elected as party president of PDP Laban, of which President Duterte is the party chairman. On May 3, 2021, when Pacquiao is asked for plans of running for president, he replied, "For now, let's not think about that." In March 2021, former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio launched One Sambayan, read as Ismbayan, meaning one nation, a coalition that will put up one lone candidate against Duterte's successor. Carpio is aiming not to split the vote, pointing out that Duterte won over Mar Roxas and Grace Poe in 2016 as those who were against him were not united. One Sambayan was considering one among Robredo, Moreno, Poe, and Senator Nancy Binay as candidates. Both Moreno and Pacquiao, with the former being one of One Sambayan's choices, stated that they do not want to talk about politics during the pandemic. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV said that there was never an offer from One Sambayan for him to run, but if Robredo won't seek the presidency in 2022, he'll entertain entering the presidential race. As for the vice presidency, he said that One Sambayan put upon their presidential candidate the choice on who would be the running mate, so he can't comment on that for now. A dispute within the PDP Laban began on March 12, 2021 35, when Senator Manny Pacquiao, who was named the party's interim president in December 2020, began to criticize President Rodrigo Duterte and the government regarding the dispute in the South China Sea, alleged corruption in the government agencies under the Duterte administration, the government handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and the endorsement of the candidates for the 2022 presidential election, leading to the creation of two factions. On June 12, 2021, One Sambayan announced their 6 initial nominees who will go through the coalition's selection process for a presidential and vice presidential tandem. The nominees, who members of the coalition may vote for as their candidate for either post, include Senator Poe, Vice President Robredo, former Senator Trillanes, human rights lawyer and former senatorial candidate Jill Diokno, incumbent House Deputy Speaker Vilma Santos Recto, and Sabak Representative and House Deputy Speaker Eddie Villanueva. Moreno and Binay declined One Sambayan's offer to run under their coalition. Soon after, Senator Poe and Representative Santos also withdrew their names from contention. At the same time, Vice President Robredo, former Senator Trillanes, and Representative Villanueva expressed their support for unity in 2022 under One Sambayan. Tito Sotto and Panfilo Lacson, who were also not initially chosen by One Sambayan, were eyeing to form a tandem. Sotto said both of them are yet to be convinced on this, and when asked if he'd run for higher office in 2022, he said that he hadn't made a decision yet. Lacson later declined the offer from One Sambayan in a letter to Justice Carpio, in which he cited his principal sponsorship of the anti-terrorism law as inconsistent and incongruent to the goals of the coalition. 45. Lacson and Sotto announced their candidacies on July, with their campaign to be launched in August. Lacson was later sworn in as a member of the Partido para sa Demokratikong Reforma, Transl. Party for Democratic Reforms, Reforma, the party of former Secretary of Defense Renato de Villa, who lost the 1998 presidential election. On September 8, Lacson and Sotto formally launched their tandem via social media, in a taped production in an undisclosed studio. The tandem filed their candidacies on October 6. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno was reportedly to take his oath as a member of Acción Democrático, Transl. Democratic Action, the party founded by Senator Raul Roco. This was after he resigned from the National Unity Party. However, this did not happen as an unexpectedly large number of people turned up on vaccination sites, particularly in Manila, on that morning, causing some vaccination sites to cancel the scheduled inoculation. Moreno was subsequently elected party president a week later. He later announced his presidential bid on September 22 with Drive Williong as his running mate. They filed their certificates of candidacy, COCs, on October 4. On September 30, 2021, One Sambayan nominated Robredo for as their standard-bearer. 56. According to Arman Luestro, one of the conveyor of One Sambayan, Robredo accepted the nomination and will file her candidacy on October 5. Robredo's spokesman clarified that she hasn't accepted a decision yet, but will make a decision on this before October 8. 58. On October 7, Robredo accepted the nomination and announced she will run for president. She later filed her certificate of candidacy on the same day as an independent. Robredo explained that she is running as an independent to show that she is open to making alliances. 61. After Vice President Robredo announced her presidential candidacy, several sources from the Liberal Party indicated that Senator Francis Pangilinan would be her running mate for her presidential bid. Pangilinan filed his candidacy for vice president a day after Robredo. By January 2020, Bongbong Marcos confirmed that he is running for a national position in 2022, although he did not specify which position. 65. On September 21, the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, PFP, Transl. Federal Party of the Philippines, nominated Marcos to run for president. If Marcos accepts, he will be inducted as a member of the party and be made its chairman. During the National Convention of the Kailumbagong Lipunan, KBL, Transl. New Society Movement, in Bananganan, the party founded by his father, he was nominated as the party's candidate for president. Marcos, who remained a member of the Nacionalista Party, thanked KBL for the nomination, but said that he will announce his plans when the time comes. On October 5, Marcos announced his presidential candidacy. Marcos then resigned from Nacionalista and was sworn in at the PFP chairman. 69. Marcos ultimately filed his presidential candidacy under the PFP on October 6. Sara Duterte, despite being a frontrunner in early opinion polls, did not file a candidacy for a national position. She instead ran for re-election in the Davao mayoral race. She earlier stated on July 9, 2021 that she is open to run for president. During the final day for the filing of candidacies, Duterte Carpio did not show up. Instead, Ronald De La Rosa filed his candidacy for president. Bato has stated that he is open to being substituted by Duterte. Bato was running alongside Go, who earlier filed his candidacy for the vice presidency on October 2, despite calls from the PDP Laban QC wing for him to run for president. A total of 97 individuals manifested their intention to run for president, while 29 did so for vice president. On November 9, Duterte Carpio withdrew from the mayoral race in Davao. On November 11, she resigned from Hugpong Pagbabago and later joined Lakas CMD on the same day. She filed her candidacy for the vice presidential post on November 13, 2021, substituting Lyle Fernando Uy. Partido Federal ng Pilipinas adopted Duterte Carpio as their vice presidential candidate. De La Rosa and Go both withdrew their candidacies on the same day. A few days later, Go launched his campaign for the presidential post. Go explained that he withdrew his bid to run for vice president, to avoid complicating the campaign of Sara Duterte. President Duterte was reported to be his running mate and was to file his candidacy on November 15, but filed for senator instead. On November 15, presidential aspirant and former National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, NTF-LCAC, spokesperson Antonio Parlade Jr. accused his fellow presidential aspirant Senator Bongo of controlling Duterte's decisions. 82. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana dismissed Parlade's claim, calling it baseless. On November 18, 2021, President Duterte claimed that an unnamed presidential aspirant from a well-known patriarch was using cocaine and added that the aspirant is a weak leader and not a very strong leader, except for his name, the father. The next day, presidential aspirants reacted on Duterte's statement. Vice President Leni Robredo and Labor leader Leo de Guzman said that the government should file charges against the candidate allegedly using cocaine. Senator Manny Pacquiao said that he is willing to undergo drug test. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said that Duterte's statement was not alluded to him but admitted that he used to drink liquors when he was younger but never done illegal drugs. 87. Senator Panfilo Lacson said that he is 100% sure that he is not referring to him. However, Bongbong Marcos did not immediately release his statement on that matter, but a report speculated that his statement was alluded to Bongbong Marcos, but Marcos' camp dismissed Duterte's claims.